Hello, survivors, and welcome to Tier Death Experience, the first stage spray show where we rank various aspects of survival horror. My name is Sai, and joining me on this episode are the beautiful faces and beautiful voices of a one, Moist Owlet.
Hello.
And a two, Kelsey.
Hello.
And in this episode, we are going to be talking about Resident Evil box art. It's a subject that we covered quite a while ago in the past, so it's nice to revisit something. Primarily because this time Kelsey and James get to talk about box art because they weren't part of the Pueblo People at that point. So it's going to be nice to have some new opinions. There is a couple of stipulations, I guess, if you like, if that's the word, rather than talking about, as we did on those podcasts, every variation of box art. We're just going to be talking about numero uno, the first release of any game. So in the case of Revelations, it's the 3DS box art. In the case of something like Resident Evil 4, which has had a million ports, we're talking about the original GameCube version. And we'll also be talking specifically about the PAL versions, the cover arts that we saw in store or had at home. Otherwise, we would be here until like the heat death of the universe if we tried to rank all the US and Japanese ones as well. So it's just the European and just the original release for the box art. There's quite a few to get through. We're going to try and make sense of this as we go. So let's start with the original, number one, the 1996 Resident Evil on PlayStation 1. Where does it score from D to S? Is it iconic for good or bad reasons? Kelsey, what do you think of the original box art as it stands in 2021?
Okay, so I think for all of these, my opinion is kind of going to be based on not necessarily not just about how artistic they are, that kind of thing. It's more about the effect, how I felt when I saw it, and that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there with these, and just a whole kind of collection of thoughts. And so some of it, in that sense, might come off as absolutely ridiculous, but I just wanted to make that clear before we started. But as for this one, I mean, I would rank it. I'd probably rank it around B. Because it's really good. It is really, really good. But it's also a bit confusing.
That's the word I was thinking as well.
And I think I'm still confused about it to this day. And I know there's been, clarification on who's on the cover and all this kind of stuff. But the pattern is jarring. Like, is that the man behind Richard? I only noticed there was a spider there sort of 10 years after seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I was looking at my phone. I can see just...
So, although this is iconic, it's the first one. We recognize it. It is iconic. I certainly have a lot more kind of affinity for other box arts, and this is why this one is kind of is solidly in the middle for me.
Right in the middle. That's fair. It's still confusing because, as you say, up till recently, we thought, oh, it's not Chris, it's Richard. And then the artist has come and said, oh, it's not actually Richard, it's just whatever. It's like nobody can make their mind up. It's so weird. It doesn't necessarily represent the game, I think. Not very well. James, what do you think about that?
Yeah, to back onto that, I think the only thing that is, very blaring about this cover is the font.
Okay.
And I'll talk about that more later on because these covers go through quite a bit of that, and differences. But yeah, you can tell that it is very iconic, but as you say, it's very iconic in a very confusing way. I can only see two spiders on this cover, and then there's a wall, and then there's a very confused man with one eye bigger than the other, and a machine gun, shotgun, maybe. Right. But it is still iconic, and I think with that iconic thing, with that iconic tag, for me, it goes up to the A. If I seen this in a bargain bin and I didn't know nothing about Resident Evil, or if I didn't even know Resident Evil, I would skip it. Right, but just pure because it's the first game, it's the first cover, and I immediately recognize it as Resident Evil, it gets put up to A. It's not S. Right, but it gets up to A just purely because of the iconic nature of it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but if you saw it in a bargain bin, you look at it and think that's something that probably deserves to be in a bargain bin. It doesn't scream classic video game to me. The choice of spiders is weird and not zombies. It's no character in particular. That's no weapon in particular. It's no expression on his face in particular. Like, people don't point it out as a great demonstration of box art, I think, anymore. They just go, look at how weird this guy's face is. I don't think I could put it in A. I would argue it goes in B.
Yeah. Well, this is a democracy.
It is a democracy. Yeah. You've been outvoted, but we'll see how far along the B the original Resident Evil gets.
Before we move on, are there skulls on this cover? Or is it just a pattern of other stuff?
I don't know. It's like a Rorschach picture.
I see skulls.
If you see skulls, then, you know.
I see a moth. So...
Right, so do I, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't... It looks like... Do you know what? Just quickly, it looks like someone has just... You know, someone is learning how to do thumbnails for the first time, and they've just realized what opacity is, right? And they've just put it down to 50% on everything, and then they've just mirrored it. You know?
Yeah, that's
what
right.
it looks like.
It's all the clone stamp. That's what.
Yeah, it's early Photoshop stuff, this.
So the sequel, Resident Evil 2, 1998, PlayStation original cover. This one, obviously... PAL and Japan got this version. America got something slightly different. I'm very biased about this one. James, what do you think about this box art?
I love this box art because it's very. I love a simple,
yes,
a simple cover. And although the guy on the right, although he or lady, I'm not sure, or MB, like they look like they have a mask on, right? But it's very iconic again. That font there, that Resident Evil font, like I could recognize that. And yeah, not looking too deeply into it though. I love the minimalist look of it, and it is terrifying. Like if 13-year-old James was looking at that, back in the day, 13-year-old James wouldn't have been able to because my mum would have yelled at me, right? But like looking at it would have terrified me because it is scary. That's the kind of it gives me kind of Texas Chainsaw kind of feels. Yeah. And that also scared me back in the day. So yeah, it really gives you that horror feel. Whereas the first one doesn't really. But this one definitely does. Yeah,
I agree. It's a creepy sort of it does kind of look like a skin mask. It's the weird little pupils that make it really unnerving. They're almost like ghost of a pupil going on there. Yeah.
Again, like it looks like, I mean, if you overanalyze it, it looks like someone has just put the saturation down and the contrast up, and but like that just simple thing has made it terrifying. If I was going to put it anywhere, it's tough because there are some criticisms I have of it, right? But at the same time, it's so good. I think it's S for me.
Excellent.
I think 2 is S for me.
Straight in with an S on the second one already. Do you know? Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that one. Kelsey, what's your rebuttal? Is this an S all around?
I mean, how can you disagree? This is for me, this is the most iconic cover, and it's not just because I love the game. It's the actual image, like James said. It's so simple, so straightforward, but just terrifying. It's absolutely S rank. It looks like a photo of someone with makeup. I presume that's exactly what it is. Sure. It looks like it could be a frame from like Night of the Living Dead or something like that. And I can remember seeing it in the video rental shop. That's where I would have first seen this cover, and it scared me then. Still creeps me out now. Just not really too much to add. It's definitely S rank. I think that idea of simplicity, that's going to kind of keep coming up with maybe some of my more favorite ones, or higher ranked ones, I should say. But I'm completely with James and with you as well, Si. If you're going to go that way, this is definitely an S rank for me. Yeah,
it really is. I think that because we're looking at the PAL covers and stuff, it's interesting to note that the Japanese box art for the original Biohazard is just an eye on a black background with like some blood on sort of the bottom lid. Which this feels like a sequel to that box art. Like it's still very monochrome with some red for the logo, but you've zoomed out now. It's a great follow up, and as I say, Japan got this as well. Yeah, no argument. This is definitely an S rank for sure. This will be an interesting one though, because I don't think this is necessarily going to land quite as high. Resident Evil Survivor PlayStation 1 again. This is quite a straightforward one, I guess. Kelsey, you're rubbing your hands. What are you thinking?
Oh, I mean, S rank, yeah, S rank straight at the top.
Oh boy.
I mean, yeah, it looks like a stock image. It's the font's there. It's recognizably Resident Evil. I suppose because it is an on-rails shooter, light gun game, that sort of sells that idea, but not very well. It's literally just a picture of a gun and some bullets, and this cover could be used for like, well, 20 million other games.
Right, just change the logo. Yeah, and that's so true.
So with that sort of lack of effectiveness, just to be brutal, it's down at the bottom. It's a D.
All right, James, anything higher than a D?
No.
Think about this.
This is yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go over quickly a scan of the image. The only thing that's Resident Evil about this image is the font itself, Resident Evil. Like, Survivor, where on here do we see any kind of something saying survive? You know, I mean, you got 4 bullets there, but like, and you have a gun. It's like, well, we've seen guns before, yeah. And there's like the red gradient to the black. Like, it's a very simple design, and unfortunately, unlike the previous game, this simple design does not work because it just doesn't gel. So yeah, it's a D rank for me.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree. I mean, I don't know if I'd be quite as harsh as put it right down at D, but that being said, I don't think there's really anything I can say to sort of fight against those criticisms. Like, it's too simple. It could be anything. You're right. It feels a bit like a rush job.
The gun doesn't even have a shadow.
It's just plonk. It's a PNG just plonk right on there. Yeah, no, I'm afraid I think you're both right. I think that's going to have to go in at D. So far, we have got a very interesting field. Yeah.
The benchmarks have been set.
Absolutely. That's right. We got something to hang everything else around now. So there is one last PlayStation 1 game to talk about. Let's see where this sets with the rest of those, which is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Kelsey, how do you feel about Big Leather Daddy there on the front cover?
It's fine. I remember when I saw this for the first time, I was pretty terrified. I thought he looked scary as hell, and I knew that the game was going to be, from what I understood, a lot more difficult because the Nemesis was going to be stalking you. So to see this picture on the front cover, it is threatening and it's powerful. The font is there, and it's definitely a more intriguing cover than, say, Survivor. But with that being said, it's not mind blowing. I mean, I'm trying not to think too much about the other regions because I know, with some of these I have references and stuff. So I'm trying to just kind of focus, but judge this for that and not kind of hold it against it if it's better or worse than those other regions. But it's not massively exciting. It could do with maybe another character and some kind of better framing, but maybe just the point is no, it's about Nemesis, and he's big and powerful and he's coming to crush a skull, and it does the job. So with all that sort of said, I'm gonna say B. Because it's like it's not as confusing as the first one. Oh, maybe it's an A. No, I'm going to say B, but I'm happy to be convinced otherwise.
Okay. James, any advance on B?
Oh, yeah. So this game I'm very biased about because it was the very first Resident Evil I ever played. All the way back when it came out. I wasn't allowed to play it, guys, but I did. I was being a naughty boy. But yeah, I didn't play it for very long because it terrified me. Right? I played it for about an hour and the Nemesis got me caught in like a cafe or something, and then I said, no choices videos, you can take this back. It's terrifying. And the thing that drew me towards the game was the cover, was Nemesis, and the name Nemesis. It's back then, Nemesis is used quite a lot now, but back then the word nemesis wasn't used that much, and I was like, I wanted to know more about this huge hulking character that had some kind of sentience. And because it was the cover that drew me towards it in the first place, it's an A for me. Because of that, because it wasn't the gameplay, it wasn't any advert that I'd seen, it was the cover. When I seen that, I wanted to know more. It is quite a simple cover, but you get like the feel of a big city behind him, as well, and just him just being imposing. It's definitely an A for me.
Okay. I guess that leaves me with the deciding vote.
Yes, no pressure.
I was borderline. I mean, that all makes sense as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think I'd say I'm team A rank for this one. It is quite simple again, as you guys have said, but in the right way. Like, it's telling you what the main hook of the game is. It's right dead there center. It's a hell of a lot more interesting than some covers, like that would definitely catch your eye, this big mysterious monster. I got my own issues necessarily with Nemesis being on the cover, particularly in this way. I think it does show him off, sort of expose him a little bit and break the mystery perhaps. Yeah. But that's got really nothing to do with the cover. That's more to do with the game. As a front cover, I think it's very good. I think it's iconic in its own way, certainly. So I'm afraid it's going in A rank.
It's fine.
So that's the PlayStation 1 titles. Let's jump across to quite a divisive game. We'll see how divisive the cover is. Resident Evil Code Veronica, the Dreamcast cover. So not Code Veronica X, just the original Code Veronica. Claire and Chris here front and center. I definitely have some issues with this one. But James, let's start with you. How do you feel about this?
I do too.
Good.
Like, the only thing I like about it again is the font. Like, it's consistent. And I know this is a Resident Evil game, but if that Resident Evil was there, what is this? What game is this? I have no idea. Like the Code Veronica. I don't know what that pertains, and the stock image in the background of a London street, it looks like. I'm not sure, right? And back then, I mean, I didn't have the fresh eyes back then to look at it, but using in-game models for kind of front covers is
risky.
Like it just doesn't look good on the cover, and they don't fit into that background either. At all. Like, they're not lit very well with it. Then it's not a complete piece. Like, if you go back to Nemesis at the front previously, he fits into that background quite well, but these two, Claire and Chris, do not fit well into that background. I'm not going to go to D on this one, but I am going to go to C for Code Veronica.
Okay. Kelsey, how do you feel about this one?
It's pretty bland. My first experience with Code Veronica was the PS2, and with Claire just as her face filling the cover. And I played the game, and I didn't even know Chris was in it. And then, so obviously, I was surprised when he turned up. But then
that must have been nice.
Yeah, it has obviously the most desired effect that you want, and then this cover kind of spoils that. And yeah, it's a very. It is bland, as I say, and there's just nothing really there in the background. There is a few covers like this in the Resident Evil series where they put the characters in kind of way, and when they it's so frustrating, because then you look at something like the cover for Resident Evil 2, or even the third one that we just looked at. There's so much stuff they've got to play with and work with, and things that they can add that would be really suggestive and kind of just more intriguing. And they're just like, no, it's just two heroes on the cover, front and center. Doesn't really tell you much else. Tells you that Claire and Chris are in it, and that's kind of it. It's I think C. I'm going for D, to be honest. Because the font is good again. It's recognizable, but just their expressions are bland. The background is bland.
Yeah, didn't expect to be coming in with that opinion, but I think it's a D as well. I think it's really not that good at all. Chris surprise, even at the way, which is the worst offender thing for me. I still think, it's just a very bland cover that doesn't tell you anything about the game. Doesn't look particularly good. It's only slightly the Code Veronica X cover, just to sort of compare them. I hate that one probably more. I think that's really boring. But as you said, at least it doesn't put Chris on there and ruin that surprise. So they're both kind of. But no, it's bum. It's rubbish, isn't it? I'm afraid
it is rubbish.
I mean, I was teetering about making it a D, but I think mainly the fact that I kind of liked Code Veronica is mainly kind of made me think a C. But yeah, no, the cover it's not good. It's bad.
Absolutely, I love Code Veronica.
Me too.
So that doesn't inform my opinion of the game. I don't know. Maybe that'll be the controversial decision that we've made already at this point. Sound off in the comments if you're very upset about that decision, I suppose. Speaking of upset, let's talk about this one. This one might be an upset. Yeah. Resident Evil Gaiden, the PAL cover of the SS Starlight. What is lifesaver ring? I guess you call those things, right?
Yeah.
James, what do you think of the Gaiden cover?
I mean, I don't like it.
Okay.
It does tell a story. It tells me that this is going to take place on a ship, or by the coast, or like on a pier or something, a harbor or something. There's going to be a lot of blood in it. Probably going to be zombies because it has Resident Evil on it. Yeah, and the ship is called Starlight. Well, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh because it is a high definition kind of,
image.
Cover.
Yeah,
and they've done well with it in that regard. But the name,
James.
the name does. The name, I don't understand the name next to, without playing it, but I hear this is not canon anyway, so, don't yell at me, comments. But I think, for me, this is going to be the first C. I don't want to make it D, because it does look okay. It's just I'm not really being invited by this cover, to play the game. At all.
That's fair. So, I actually, maybe this is my controversial opinion, this one. I think this is really, really good.
Yep.
It's simple in the right way. It gives you enough to go on. And more than anything, how many Game Boy Color games have got blood on their front cover?
That's true.
You see this as a kid, you go, oh my God, I have to play this scary adult game. I tell you now, James, there isn't blood in the game because it's a Game Boy Color game.
This is about as much as you're going to get.
If there is blood in the game, it's like, you can't really tell what's going on. I think it's really good. Kelsey, you cheered in agreement. I think this is at least an A. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, it's at least an A. So I don't know if either of you have ever seen or heard of the film Sleepaway Camp, but the front cover is just so it's the classic sort of horror movie slasher thing, and it's a shoe with like a knife through it and some blood, and it looks like an illustration. But it's very similar to this, but it's just like the idea of just having a prop with blood to me just can say so much, and it's so simple. And like I say, there's no gormless looking face. There's just okay, like James said, is this on a boat? Is this the beach? Is this something to do with lifeguards? Like, what is this? Like, we've got the Resident Evil font, great, and then this just is such an ominous image. Really, really love it. Perfect little blood spatter. Like it looks so considered, and this is the simple side, the simplicity side working really well, in my opinion. So I think I wouldn't say it's an S because our only S at the moment is RE2, and like I look at that image and that kind of terrifies me. I look at this and it doesn't terrify me, but it really, really intrigues me. Unfortunately, obviously the game itself doesn't match up to the cover. The cover's the best thing about the game. But in terms of style and what they've gone for, if I could be convinced maybe it's a B, but I would say A.
Right. Okay. Well, we're definitely at an impasse here then. 2 A's and a C. James, can we convince you? What do you reckon? Can we put this in an A, or do we have to drop it down one?
You guys are right. Like, it doesn't spoil anything. It does tell a small story. I just look. I know nothing about Gaiden, and when I was looking at it, I still don't know anything about Gaiden. Right? And like, I do like to be told. I don't like to be spoiled, but I do like to be told a story in a way. And I mean, it kind of does do that. It gives you just enough. Yeah, I could be persuaded to put it up one, to a B.
To a B.
To a B for me. I can't put it in A because it's. What's it
missing? What's it missing? James?
The name. I don't like the Gaiden name is. I don't know what it means at all.
That's fair.
Yeah, but this is democracy, so if you guys go with 2 A's, then it's an A.
I think, to be fair, like, I see where you're coming from. Definitely, we are ranking the artwork, I guess, at the end of the day. So
not the name.
Not necessarily.
That's true.
Name. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Especially
the name
at that
is ugly,
time.
Though.
Yeah, especially at that time. This is before Ninja Gaiden exploded on the 360 and stuff like that. Obviously, it had been on the NES, but it's not really a word that, especially in Europe, we had any understanding of. So I can see where you're coming from. But yeah, I think shocking decision number 2. Gaiden goes right up there in an A.
Yes.
It's not quite as good as Nemesis, though, right?
No, not for me.
Okay, that's
not for me, because I wasn't drawn in by. I liked it, but I'm not drawn in by that cover.
Yeah, it doesn't take quite enough.
Exactly. Whereas I'm drawn in by Nemesis.
All right. So let's head back to Code Veronica land for the next one. Resident Evil Survivor 2 Code Veronica for PS2. This is a sort of twist on the Code Veronica X cover of Claire's face with a zombie sort of in each pupil. This time we have a zombie with Claire's face in each pupil. I have very strong opinions about this cover. James, what do you make of this one?
It's pretty cool. Like, that's Resident Evil. Like, just get rid of the font, get rid of the name, right? That is Resident Evil. There's a spooky eye, there's a boneless kind of zombie there. We know zombies are in Resident Evil. It's kind of gross and terrifying, I'm not going to talk about the name again, right? But you got the Resident Evil font there, right? But you don't need that, right? Because I know this is a Resident Evil game just by looking at it, like, and yeah, I really like it. Again, it's simple, but work's been put into that artwork. If it is artwork, maybe it's just an actual practical effect or something that's been superimposed. But the Claire in the eyes, that looks a little bit whack. But like, that could have just been removed, and it would look cool. But
I agree. I think
it's difficult to rank for me between a B and an A.
Okay, wow.
I can be persuaded.
Okay. Well, we've been very civil so far, so we'll see. I agree. The Claire in the eyes. If you take it out, it's definitely less bad. The artwork is, I think this is just like Code Veronica artwork that already existed for the original game that they just took. Kelsey, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, it's a shame because the zombie image is really, really good. And then it gets spoilt by the bad pasting of Claire in the eyes.
Yeah.
The composition of just like where the title is really ruins it as well. Like on the zombie's cheek there, it just kind of gets in the way. Even if it could have just been down in
a little bit left, lower.
Yeah. Like, it's just, that really annoys me because I think even if the artwork is just an old reused image, the image is really good and really strong. So I am torn. Like James said, I think it's cool as well. I mean, this is cooler than a lot of the other covers we see.
Is it cooler than Resident Evil 1?
This is a very good point.
Oh, that's a really hard question. So I was going to come in. I was ready to go all guns blazing. This is a solid D for me.
Harsh.
I think it's very lazy. I don't like this weird blurring effect that's going on at the bottom for reasons I don't understand. As we've already talked about, the Claire image just doesn't work at all. But James, you have persuaded me to at least not let it sit right at the bottom. You're right. You know, you see this, it's Resident Evil, it's interesting, it's a zombie. That's kind of what you want. That's what you're looking for out of the series at this point. So it's not quite bottom of the barrel, I don't think. But yeah, comparing it to Resident Evil 1, it's apples and oranges because one's really iconic, but it's maybe they're not the right reasons. And then there's I don't know, it's so difficult, isn't it?
And is this not iconic just because the game's terrible?
It doesn't help, yeah.
This is closer. Now, this is not an S-rank cover, but it's closer to something like Resident Evil 2, where it's a creepy image, but they've just spoilt it with some other things, which is such a shame. So it's not an S, it's not an A. I am hovering around B because like I said, that original cover I think is a confusing, strange cover. It's not necessarily good nor bad, and this feels like another one for me that's sort of in the middle. So I would say I'm going to say B.
I can't let you have it any higher than that. B is still a struggle, but James,
it's a low B.
You're not going any lower than B, I assume.
I mean, listening to you guys now, it needs to go in front of Resident Evil, right? But it's a solid B.
It needs to go in front of the original game.
Yeah,
I can't do that. I can put it in B. I can't put it higher than the original. But maybe it is better because it's it's clearly a Resident. Oh, you've done it. Yeah,
I've done it now. Here we go.
It's
the death experience has begun.
You're right. It's clearly a Resident. If you take the titles off and hand them to someone, you're going to get a better understanding. And that's what it comes down to with box art. You need to tell people what they're looking at. So yeah, aghast is the word. Let's move on. So sticking with a flurry of PS2 spin-off titles, let's look at Resident Evil Dead Aim. This is one of several where we're going to be looking at just an eye. Kelsey, what do you think of the Dead Aim cover art?
It's not amazing. It is quite striking because of the white and the white and the red and the eye. There's stuff in there to like. The crosshair is just kind of super cheesy. Now I played this. I didn't play this because of the cover. I played it. This is another one I rented, and I played it because it was a Resident Evil game. And I thought, well, let's just see what it's like. The cover certainly didn't sell me. I don't hate the cover. I think there's something in it. I like the sort of ink stampiness to it as well. Again, they've tried to do something. It's simple, but it's got a style to it. There's a choice in there. They have considered what they're doing. It's just not, as good as something like 2 again. So the blood drip's quite cool. In terms of box art, I think this is a C for me. It's not a complete stinker, but it's not as good as Gun Survivor 2, that's for sure.
It's just not very interesting, is it? That's the main thing. I mean, it's different for the series to have like a white cover like that, but it doesn't particularly grab me. I would agree. I think this is probably a C because it's not bad. It's just kind of meh. James, any advance on C?
Was this I feel like this was brought out when a James Bond came out,
Probably, to be honest, it's early 2000s, So
because it looks like it's just a James Bond cover.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
and that's forgetting the kind of the crosshairs and everything, but it's just just the contrast in the black and the white and everything. It's very James Bond. I can't really argue with the C, to be honest, because it does look okay and it's very recognizable. I love the differences of the contrasting between the images. Same as you, Kelsey. I love the kind of the blood drip for the tear and stuff. It does look cool, but I just say it's not Gun Survivor 2. And it doesn't really.
I can't believe it.
it doesn't really tell the story. I don't know what the
No.
story is of Dead Aim. It's probably not too in depth, but like it doesn't really tell the story of the game, or doesn't really tell you what it is. You know, so yeah, it's a C for me. Solid C. I don't want to put it in D because it does look cool. It's just C.
It's at least a little bit more original than just like the original Survivor, where they just slapped a gun image down. Even with this, you take the title off and put Time Crisis on the top. I believe it. You know, it could be whatever, but it's not bad. I agree. Like the eye is kind of a nice little sketch. So yeah, unanimous for that. Let's see how we feel about the original Outbreak. Sticking with the PS2, sticking with the white backgrounds, a horde of zombie arms. What I will say off the bat is, at least unlike America, we didn't get the movie font to remind us where the series was heading at this point. We have the classic red impact font. James, how do you feel about the first Outbreak cover?
Very recognizably Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Like, they are definitely all zombie arms. Whole slew of them, really.
You wonder how are they all standing for that to work? Like, what's going on there?
It's a bouquet of arms. Like, yeah. I do like it. You know, and it does look Resident Evil. Like, it belongs to Resident Evil. Is it better than Gun Survivor 2? This is the meme of the channel now.
I hate that this is a thing now.
No. I actually think it is a B though. Like I do like it. It's nice. It's simple. It does tell a little bit of a story about the game. In terms of there just being hordes of zombies. But I mean that's Resident Evil. But you don't need to try hard to make a, zombie game. Yeah, and you kind of like if you look really close, you can like each arm tells a little story as well.
Yeah.
Like because they've all got like little bits on them. Like there's like an office worker there. I think there's a police officer, like an arm there, like someone who's married. Yeah, it's like it's cool. So I would say it's a B for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say at least a B. I agree. Yeah, they're not just generic zombie arms. This is, well, I mean, I guess they are, but, this is a city full of lives lost and all that, as you say, there's character to those zombie arms. And you know what you're buying. Kelsey, what do you reckon? Is it a B, or are you going to inch down or up a little bit?
I think we're pretty much in agreement. I do really like this one. It is a tiny bit jarring. I think maybe there's probably just a few too many arms, but
yeah, probably.
there's just a bit overkill with the arms. This is almost perfect. I think this could have been an A if there was fewer arms and it was just a bit more subtle. But
yeah, I agree with that.
It loses a bit of subtlety for me with the overkill of arms. But like, I didn't even notice what James said about the details. I mean, I see there's details, but you're completely right. There's now stories to these arms and who these people are. That is really good. And I didn't even think about that. So again, considered. I know I keep saying that word. Color scheme's really nice. And it's put together really well. It doesn't look like it's botched, like a botched paste job. It's nice.
Yeah,
There's a lot to love about it. The skyline is a bit odd in the background. Looks a bit like London or something like that. But yeah, very clear title. Sort of TV signal like font on the Outbreak, which is kind of odd, but anyway, I think this would also be a B for me.
That's fair. Okay, so then the next question is where in B? So the question actually genuinely is it as good as Survivor 2?
Sorry, James, go on.
I think it's on par, or maybe just behind. Like, because it, like Gun Survivor 2, like, Gun Survivor 2 that's a Resident Evil cover. This also is a Resident Evil cover. Like, but it's in a different way. It's a bouquet of arms and hats, right? But, like, it's, it tells you a story of a horde, just as Gun Survivor 2 tells you a story. You're going to be going up against some gross zombie faces. This one tells you, you're going to be going up against hordes of zombies and they're going to be smacking you around the face and maybe eating your brains. Yeah, so maybe just behind Gun Survivor 2, just because of how striking Gun Survivor 2 is.
Okay. I would actually argue that maybe it goes ahead of Survivor 2, purely based on the fact that that's like an original piece made for the box art as well.
True.
And whereas Survivor 2 is sort of like reused, arguably well, apparently, reused artwork. Kelsey, what do you think? Before or after Survivor 2?
I think it's before. I think because of those dodgy bits that I don't like about Gun Survivor 2, because it's such a good cover, but then the glare in the eyes and the font placement really lets it down. But then I look at this, and less lets this down than lets down Gun Survivor 2. And like you say, an original image as well gives it points. I hate to knock the mighty Gun Survivor 2 off its top of the Bs, but I think we've got a new B.
No, you both make really good points. I completely agree, actually. Yeah.
All right, let's do the sequel then. As emblazed on the cover of Outbreak File 2, net play enabled, or whatever it says. Hooray, finally. This cover art looks like Evil Dead or something to me. You know, Kelsey, what do you think of this one? Is it better than the original Outbreak or not quite as good?
No, it's kind of fun. It does look like Evil Dead. It looks almost like a cross between Evil Dead and like Rambo or something, because the arms look so muscly and sweaty.
Yes, that's an action hero arm, definitely.
Yeah, it is action hero arm. So
hashtag action hero arm.
But then the zombie arms look really cool. I'm not crazy about this happens a lot where they do the long nails with the zombies, and I know that the nails continue to grow and stuff after death, but I think that gets overused sometimes, and I prefer, when I think of the zombies, I don't think of them as, they're with Resident Evil. I don't think that they're the ones that have just got up from the graveyard. I think that they're people that have recently turned, and their nails aren't necessarily really long. So it's a bit
well manicured zombies.
Yeah. Though the nails are a bit too campy for me with those that idea of zombies. But so yeah, it's just a bit lighter on stuff to enjoy. Cheesy image, the grabbing the arms. It's not terrible. It's no Gun Survivor 2. It's no Outbreak 1. This is I'm going to say C. Let's put it in C.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is a high C. James, going higher than C?
Kind of wanna.
No.
Yeah, because it has cheese, but it gives me Resident Evil vibes, just with that guy in the back, like Resident Evil 1 vibes. With that guy in the background just kind of helping, or this guy, I mean, that guy's holding a gun, but yeah, whoever this is, action arm man, like, yeah, I like the silhouette. Like, I like he's reaching down to grab, and then there's a silhouette in the back. I keep saying we have no idea, like, could be action hero woman for all we know, right? And yeah, they're reaching down. It's nice. I like that subtlety. I don't like the font of file number 2. I think that when you do stuff like that for a game or for any kind of media, I think it takes away some urgency from the game. Because where was file number 1? I know it was Outbreak, but where is it? It's like, yeah, but I want to put it low B, but I can't.
We were saying high C, weren't we? So this is
yes. Close. So yeah, I suppose. Would you be comfortable putting it right at the top of C for now?
Yeah, I can get with that. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the GameCube with the remake of the original Resident Evil. As I say, we're not doing any ports, but we are doing full-on remakes. So this is the 2002 version of Resident Evil. I don't know how aware of our cover certain other regions are, but this is the cover that we got for remake. Kelsey, how do you feel about this? Because we talked about the brilliance of simplicity, but is this a step too far?
Mm-hmm. I think so. It relies on the name. It's the remake of Resident Evil, and assumedly lots of people by the point this game came out knew what this was. Has the typewriter font, which is nice, but there's just nothing else. It's just darkness and smudges, and it's like, is it blood? Is it, is it the virus? There's just nothing going on, and just kind of resting on their laurels a bit too much with this, just selling it off the name, which, I mean, it worked, and the game was obviously very successful, but just with so much fun going on the other covers, this is just, it's simple, it's nice, it's clean, but just a bit boring. So it's not a D, because it's not like a bad Photoshop job or anything like that. It's just unimaginative. So this is a low C for me. It's too unimaginative. It's too far in the simple way, as you say.
Okay, interesting. James, what do you think? Is this in the C, or do we go lower with this? Or maybe you love it. I don't know.
I do like it, but it's not as good as, like. See,
don't say it. Don't say it.
No, like, I think when I look at this, I think what could have been done, and what story could have been told, and it's like they could have built off what Resident Evil 1 was, right, and actually told the story, whatever story that man in that cover was telling, and they could have built on that, but instead,
that's true.
They've just put, like, because when I see that outside, before I kind of came here and actually got into Resident Evil, hardcore, like, I seen that and I thought, wait a second, is that just a re-release? Like, I didn't understand. It's not very exclusive. Sorry, no, what's the word? It's not inviting to new players to the genre. So I do like its simplicity, but it doesn't tell any story, and I'm not really sure what's happening in the background. I'm not sure they know what's happening in the background. I do like the typewriter font, but yeah, it's low C for me.
Okay. I agree. There's not a lot to it there, especially for this big exclusive Resident Evil remake on Nintendo console. It should have be a bit more pomp and circumstance. I understand, let's see if we can sell this on name brand, but it's just no, just put some, a half opaque image of the mansion or something would have been better with what you've got. It seems like something's missing. I would have been tempted to put it at a high D. You're right. It's not bad. It's just blah. So I think, right at the bottom of C for now.
I think for me, the Ds are generally ones that I feel have mistakes on.
Yeah.
And this one isn't a mistake. It's just
uninspired.
Yeah.
Well, let's see how they follow that up on the GameCube with Resident Evil 0. It's a similar affair. Kelsey, you did a remake to start. So, James, you're a big Rebecca Chambers fan, but how do you feel about the cover art for starring role?
First of all, she's not on this cover. Okay.
That is a fact.
Why is she not on this cover? Like, we know that she's in there. She's in the game, but no. Seriously though, like, it's a bit edgy, isn't it? Like, I mean, I know we're talking about Resident Evil here.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit. I've never really liked the name, because, like, when Steve said to me, we're going to play Resident Evil, it's going to have Rebecca Chambers in it, I was like, oh, okay, they've called it Resident Evil 0. There's going to be some reason for it to be called 0, right? And I look at this game cover, right, and I'm still not being told a story other than the stock image of bacteria in the background. It's a bit uninspired. Like, it's just... And they've even, like, put a... they put like an extra 0 in the background with a cross through it, just in case you didn't know that this wasn't Resident Evil 0.
Yeah.
Like, and it still doesn't add anything to it. But now I'm in the C's with that opinion, because I've been like that with a lot of these. But it does have more than Resident Evil Remake.
It does.
Right? So I'll think... And it has more than Dead Aim. So I think I'm going to put it behind file number 2 in rank C. For me.
I would actually completely agree with that. That's exactly where I think I would put it as well. I like the composition, but it is still very basic. And I like the idea of following on from the remake, but as we said, the remake isn't all that great of a cover art anyway. So, Kelsey, what do you think? Is it whereabouts in C are you putting it, or is it better than C?
I mean, I wouldn't have actually put it in front of Dead Aim, but I mean, that's fine, I suppose. It's better than Resident Evil. It's just funny, like, again, not trying to compare too much to the other regions, but you can tell that the two teams that worked on the covers, they both worked on the Resident Evil remake and Zero.
Yeah.
And this team worked on Zero and our remake, because for the other regions, stylistically, they're both the same, and then ours are both the same. This is like an extension of the remake one. They've inverted the color, added a bit more stuff to it. But again, not massively inspiring. I don't mind the big red Zero. It's it's kind of creepy, but again, I'm just looking at Dead Aim.
We hate zeros.
Yeah, it is. It looks like a dagger through it, or a sword or something. I prefer the Dead Aim one, despite its James Bondness. But yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No, nothing more to say.
Yeah, fair enough. I think you have been outvoted, unfortunately.
That's fine.
It's slightly higher than Dead Aim. Sticking with the GameCube just one more time, the original version of Resident Evil 4. Now, speaking of simplicity, perhaps in the right way. Kelsey, Resident Evil 4, go.
S, get it up there. This is an S rank. This is an S rank. This is it. This is the simplicity that I personally love. It's creepy as AF. I don't know if we're going to be swearing on this or not, but
I don't know yet. But
I like lots of people. The placement of the 4 is just dumb. I mean, why is it 4 Resident Evil and not Resident Evil?
Yeah, that's true.
That excused. The skyline, the birds, the trees, Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, and this to me, this got me so excited for the game. It's still creepy to look at now. That being just that image of him sort of there stalking. It's like not House on Haunted Hill. The Hills Have Eyes as well. Very horror movie-esque. Love it. This is S rank for me.
I think it's interesting because, and this is a subject that's definitely to come up at least once more, is maybe that's misinterpreting the game. Like Dr. Salvador, he's not really that important, is he? But you're right. The cover is so atmospheric for like a flat 2D image on the front of a game box. James, any advancement on S?
So just to speak more about Dr. Salvador, like purely because I played this game first time on my Wii, which was superior way to play Resident Evil.
Yeah, correct.
Right? And it also has a fantastic cover. Like they just don't miss with these RE4 covers. But yeah, like Dr. Salvador, he scared the crap out of me when I seen it. Like when I heard the I was like, Yeah. It was because of this cover, because I was like, when's he gonna turn up?
You knew it was coming.
Yeah, and I agree. Like there's not much in this image, but it tells so much. Like you see the birds up there that you can throw flash grenades at. You see Dr. Salvador,
He can throw flash grenades.
It's even in terms of like the sunset is when, the Las Plagas takes hold.
Yeah.
You even get that kind of tease there. Like, and I just, it's S for me as well. It's amazing. But yeah, I agree. The 4 Resident Evil, it's like four Resident Evil fans buy Resident Evil.
Yeah. I think even with that stupid logo choice, it has to go in S. The question though, let's see if we can all agree with this. Is it better than Resident Evil 2?
Well, for me, it is. Yeah, because it's more terrifying and tells more of a story, even though I love the minimalistic view of Resident Evil 2. It beats it for me. Yeah.
I grew up next to one of the largest forests in the area, and we would often mess about up there, and this image of the sun setting behind the forest. This is an image that I have seen, and I've imagined stalkers on the hillside and stuff like that. So it's my nightmare, sort of on a box art. And I love the Resident Evil 2 cover. This one is better, only just.
Yes, it's a tough call. I have to take into account my own personal nostalgia and things like that. That being said, I think I completely agree. This is the best we've got so far.
Yep.
It just says so much by doing so little. It's superb. All right, let's jump from the Nintendo game to the Nintendo Wii. Let's go and revisit some classic Resident Evil stories with Umbrella Corps. There's some laughing going on already. Kelsey, how do you feel about the Umbrella Corps cover art?
Wait, sorry, Umbrella Corps, Umbrella Chronicles.
Umbrella Chronicles.
Yeah.
Sorry, Umbrella Chronicles.
Umbrella Corps.
Getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, I mean, this is nuts. It's not terrible. It's a bit chaotic. It's actually, I don't know. It's first I thought I didn't like the cover, but looking at it again now, and looking at the other ones we're looking at, and looking at what's coming up, this is not bad. There's the zombies, we've got Wesker, we've got Umbrella, all the iconic symbolic, all the iconic imagery is there. Is it a bit too busy? Yes, it is a bit too busy. This for me is a low. Oh no! This is a C. I was going to say low B. I do really like it, but it's not as good as some of the ones. I've got to think about the ones above it here, and so yeah, this is a high C for me. It's a lot of fun. Okay,
interesting. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a cluster, I think. Yeah. And I don't really like the logo particularly at all. But I suppose it's nice, it's called Umbrella Chronicles. You've got the Umbrella logo. You got Wesker there as sort of like a character that ties a lot of it together. Zombies. Yeah, I'd be inclined to put it in that sort of ballpark. James, what do you think? Is this a C? No.
S rank.
yeah, above Resident Evil 4. This, you know what? As soon as I saw this is the first time I've seen this cover. As soon as I saw this, I thought I was transported back, to the dark times, right? Of us watching the Resident Evil movies.
Right? Yeah.
Instantly. And then the chaos of the image, the spoiler of the image, as well. They've tried to reuse the font from Resident Evil 4. Looks okay. Not sure what Umbrella Chronicles means, but sure. It's just too chaotic for me. You know how like Gun Survivor and Code Veronica are very simple and their composition is bad, right? And this composition is okay. It looks but it's too busy and it's too spoilery and like it's still not telling me what's happening at all, and I'm gonna have to put it in a high D.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. I totally see where you're coming from. I mean, for one thing, the laser corridor from the movie, it's not just in RE4. Immediately after that, it's in Umbrella Chronicles as well. So there is some influence from the films in this one. It's also got Red Queen in it as well, come to think of it. But we're talking about the cover art. I think there is a bit too much going on. You could have done with one less of those sort of like three things that have been smushed together. I don't know.
I agree. I really, really agree. There's too much going on. It is too busy. The way it's put together, like James said, is really good. Despite the fact there is too much there. I'm still sticking with my line that anything that goes into D is like just badly put together. And you could say this is a high D. I think, but I think it's better
than a high D.
It's better than Resident Evil 1 remake, which just has a nice typeface, nice really nice and simple, but has literally nothing else. At least this, it does kind of evoke the movies a little bit too much, but the bottom image of the zombies I really like. The blood spattered umbrella logo I like. I just don't, I don't see the mistakes in there. I don't see the botch jobs. That's what I'll say.
I get you. I mean, I would put this somewhere in the middle of C. So we've got a high C and a high D. So I suppose the question is really, where does it sit in C? Is, were we talking between Dead Aim and Zero? Are we talking about between Dead Aim and Remake? Yeah. Can we go higher than that? Is it between File 2 and 0? James, if you were forced to put this in C, how high up could you bear it?
I would put it between Resident Evil Remake and Dead Aim.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, not listening to you, Kelsey. Yeah, like it does look better than the Resident Evil Remake cover.
Yeah. It's not necessarily my taste. It's too busy, as we've said, but it's not terrible. I think that position you've said, that's exactly where I'd put it.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get back to simple and let's hop over to Kajuju Africa for the first Resident Evil game that released on Xbox as well as other formats. So that's quite exciting indeed. The return of Chris and Wesker in Resident Evil 5. There's some nostalgia for me with this one, I think. I remember getting this day one. James, how do you feel about the cover art for Resident Evil 5?
This game, the first time I played this game was with a demo when it first came out, and you got to play that bit where where Salvador comes through the gate like 4 minutes later.
Yeah, the executioner. I think it's public assembly is what that's called.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, the executioner dude. And it is a simple cover, but it's a nice cover. It's simple. But other than that, it gives me occult vibes. Like Eldritch vibes.
It's all the scratchy text, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, but the game is not. I know we're not meant to be judging it by comparison that way, but the game is not Eldritchy. It's not like that. But this cover is inviting. It is wanting you to play. You see that parchment there in the background with all this writing, old magic writing on it. It is nice. If I was going to put it anywhere, this is a hard one. I can't put it as high as A. I don't think I can. But I think it's better than Outbreak.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think a high B for me. Yeah.
Okay. Kelsey, I'll go to you first before I say my piece.
So on a sort of different end of the scale, I think when I look at this, the remake could have done something more like this. They could have at least added more texture and stuff to the image, which is what this has done. This is really good in that sense. The 5 is just about visible. It's an odd 5, but it's good. It is inviting, is intriguing. I like the simplicity. But this is closer to Resident Evil 0 for me.
Oh boy.
It's not quite a B. I do like it. It's higher. This is a high C for me. I think it's missing something. I think it's missing, that iconic, that I'm looking at Resident Evil 4 and I'm just like, how good that is. And it's like, could this have had something on there? I'm looking at File 2. It's better than File 2 for me, but it's not as good as anything in B for me because I feel like it's missing something.
You don't think it's as good as Resident Evil 1?
No, because Resident Evil 1 for me has the iconic factor.
Okay.
Even in the confusing way.
I think that unlike Resident Evil 1, there is some clarity here. I like the subtle shape of Africa going on. That's quite nice. I like the warm colours. It is when we talked a lot about simplicity, and it is kind of like you sort of teeter one way or the other. And I'm very much in the middle with this one. Like, it's not simple bad, simple great. It's perhaps too simple, as Kelsey said, following RE4. It is definitely a step down, and we all agree with that. But it's got a lot more going for it in terms of presentation than something like Zero. I would say, yeah, it's somewhere in the B. It's just a matter of where. Maybe. Oh no, yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? With RE1, it's like you don't quite know what you're getting with Resident Evil 5 if you've somehow never heard of the series by this point. But RE1 doesn't tell you much more except that there's people in it.
I think Kelsey's right. Like, the iconic factor really boosts that cover up.
It's a weird benchmark, isn't it, to have that right in the middle?
Yeah. Maybe just behind Resident Evil 1?
I think so, yeah.
I can take that. Yep.
I think that's fair.
It is missing something, but it has class. Like I say, it's not as bad.
Yeah,
as
class is a good word for it.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of class, or perhaps a lack thereof, I'm not particularly a fan myself of the Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles artwork. This is a bit of a crazy mishmash for me. Kelsey, how do you feel about Darkside Chronicles?
Yeah, it's again a bit like Umbrella Chronicles. It's not as busy, obviously, but it's just a bit. It just feels a bit cheap. It just feels like, again, there's 3 zombies, and then Leon and Claire. Could those 2 of those zombies not have been substituted for something else, at least to just add some variety to the image? Color scheme is nice. It doesn't make me feel scared, but it's just nice to see something different. Glass shattering, always, that bullets in the glass always just feels cheesy to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For me, this is closer to. This is in the sea somewhere. This is not as good as File 2.
I think this has a glaring issue with it, but we'll see. James, what's your thoughts on this? See if you can find my big problem with it.
I probably won't. But because I've not played this game, so I don't know like kind of the story of it or anything. But so I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. What I'm seeing here is Resident Evil. There's going to be zombies. Okay, so we got 3 zombies here. There's going to be a lot of smashed glass, guns, and bullets. Okay, that's what we're seeing here.
I mean, that's not inaccurate, to be fair.
Right. And if you look, like, I'm looking at all the other covers here, right? And, you know, there's something that all the other covers have in some way other than RDs, right? They've all got some level of gore. And I know the zombies have gore, right? But it's not the forefront, right? This isn't a horror game. Like, I'm looking at it, this cover, I'm looking at it, this isn't a horror game. This is just a shoot 'em up. This is a shooty game.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. That's not what I was thinking, but certainly, like, obviously it makes you wonder, because this is made for the Wii originally. Is that like a Nintendo thing? They didn't want blood on the cover, but Umbrella Chronicles at least had some blood splatter, so I agree with you there. It is definitely missing that feels absent now that you've said it.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, now I'm trying to rank it, because I do like the font, and I actually really like the subtext, like the ducks. I'm not like Bateman, right? But I do love a good font. Okay, and I love line spacing, like, and I like how that looks. But it's blue. Why is it blue? Yeah, right. I know that sounds weird, but why is it blue? I don't.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it doesn't.
The
feel
logo,
right. Even though it says Resident Evil, it doesn't feel Resident Evil.
Like, the logo also doesn't fit with a game that it's a sequel to, in a way. Like, they're completely different logos as well, so that's confusing.
What's it a sequel to?
Umbrella Chronicles. They're both sort of sets of retold stories, basically.
Oh, okay, like an episodic thing.
Yeah, they're on rails versions of other games and little extra scenarios sprinkled in. So my big issue with this, and this is why I'd be tempted to put this down in the D. Why is there nothing right in the middle of this box?
Yeah.
I was going to say,
why is there
that.
a big white space with nothing in it?
It is dumb. Yeah.
It feels so poorly put together. Like we talked about good composition. This is bad composition for me. It feels like the bullet and the sort of like the glass chassis are literally just there so they can just go, oh, we'll splice a bit of an image in here, and they don't have to think about how things are going to sort of fit behind each other and stuff like that. It just feels very lazy. I don't like it a lot. It's not terrible bad, but it's not good.
It's pretty bad.
I don't know if I could put it C, and if I did, it would be very low down. I'd take remake over this.
Yeah, no, I agree with that actually. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think
it's low C for me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it is a D. You're right. I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, I was fixated on the bullet holes, but I think that took me away from the fact that it is just to cover up the fact there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big missed opportunity.
It's like Cybering's like if you get rid of those bullets.
Yeah, that's unfinished.
Yeah, exactly. Put it in D. Put it in D.
Yeah, it is either the lowest C or the highest D.
Yeah, the D-side chronicles.
Yeah, do it.
There you go. It's the D-side chronicles. Okay, so we got a couple more Nintendo games. First of all, 3DS, Resident Evil: The Mercenaries 3D. This is sort of it's the Mercenaries, but on 3DS. It's a fairly straightforward game, and I think it's a fairly straightforward box art. Kelsey, how do you feel about the Mercenaries box art?
It's almost really good. Again, there's some nice contrast, lots of blood. I think, again, I'm trying not to think too much about what this game actually is and think about this image. Again, it feels like it's missing something. There's so much white. It's like, did they just not have time to put a texture or something? And is this just a case of the fact that it is because it's on the DS and it fits with the white box and the white label, which I can sort of see. Text is a bit odd. It's not amazing. I don't hate. At the same time, I don't hate it. I like blood spatters, and this one has kind of lots of that, coming off the weapon and things. This for me would sit. It has simplicity, but it's pretty bad simplicity. I think this sits. This sits after Dead Aim or before Dead Aim.
Okay, so
it's around there. It's slap,
middle C, slap bang in the middle of C. Okay, James, what's your advancement on the middle of C for this one?
Yeah, the negative space here is bad.
Yeah,
like it's like they've got this stock image, right, and they've plotted it in, and they've just turned it around. And then they've put some ink splat there, and then put some blood splat there. I do like it. Like Kelsey said, like I do like it. Like it's, but the text is bad. Like it doesn't look good. And I love like the use of like it's mostly just shade work and red, and it's like that's really cool, right? But it's just the negative space is really hurting it here. Nothing else to really say. I would say if I was gonna rank it, same as Kels. Like I'll put it between,
Well, look at Zero. How at least, although that picture of the bacteria is kind of a bit rubbish, but at least there's something there,
right?
So it's not higher than Zero for me.
Yeah, I think it's because I like the center image and like even though it's got a lot of negative space around it, I still like because they've filled it out. Like the Dead Aim is better than this, so I would put it behind Dead Aim.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with it. It's it's a nice actiony image. It's got a monster in it. You sort of have an idea of what you're getting. Slight bugbear that it's RE5 Chris versus an RE5 Executioner, and this is like a combination of mercenary stuff. It would have been nice to see something going up against someone you haven't seen before. But it's fine. It works. But I think if you look at where our ranking in general. It just seems like white covers. I can see why they do it and what they're going for. It's bold in its own way, but they don't seem to work with Resident Evil because I agree with you. It firmly goes.
It's too Bond.
Too Bond. All right. The next game is the next 3DS game, Resident Evil Revelations. I was very tempted to put the original printing of this, where it's Resident Evil Revelations or whatever. But yeah, so this is the 3DS cover for Revelations. Do you know, I kind of do like that it's a throwback, as I mentioned very beginning of this, to the original Biohazard cover of just the eyeball, which is cool. It's got the nautical theme to it. I quite like this one. James, what do you think of Revelations?
I was going to be straight out with the rank. It's an S for me.
Whoa, okay.
It's behind RE2, but I really like this. Again, I've said it a lot, but it tells a story. Like, I've never played Revelations, right? But you see that eye there. It's very iconic of Resident Evil. Love the font. Love the subtext. Right, and you also get the feel that you're underwater. You're in a watery place in this game. And the eye looks engorged and gross, like in a way. But also the colors really pop. Like, I'm a kind of biased as well because the colors used in this are kind of my favorite colors. Like the cobalt blues and the baby blues. Like, I love that color, which is why it's an S for me. Combined with like the story it's telling. Like, I love this. I love this title. This cover art. It's awesome. I don't think I have anything else to add, really.
Yeah, I think we should be thankful that there isn't a Revelations 3 that's green. Otherwise, KDB and I would be like, that's the best one. I really, as I say, I really like this. I agree with everything that you say. It's definitely got a certain atmosphere to it. The colours used are really good. I like the eyes kind of like bloodshot. And KDB, is this an S? That's quite a strong opinion.
I was going to say an A without a doubt. It was definitely an A. And then
I would agree with that.
Everything Moise said just kind of, it was like, yep, that's why I put it in A. And then I think I started to get more excited about it as well. And was like, it is really good. I think this, for me personally, this is better than RE3 because I think RE3 is too in your face. I love the game. I love Nemesis' character. But then look, I obviously ranked high Gaiden with the life preserver there. That's what I rank high, is this stuff. This is simplicity done right. Love it, love it, love it. It's a high A. Whether it's an S, the S ranks for me terrify me. Does this image terrify me? Not really, but it is so good. It's either a low S or the highest A for me.
That's a good one. It's difficult because I'm in the same camp. This would be right at the top of A for me. Does it terrify me? Not really, but to be honest, eyes do make me feel a bit icky and uncomfortable, to be honest. So it's teetering on it. I don't know if I could go all the way full-blown S and put it up there with the absolute Stone Cold classics, but it's very, very good indeed. James, you happy with top of the A?
I'm happy with that. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Excellent.
It's going to be hard to beat that.
But wait until Resident Evil Revelations 2 comes by.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's jump back to home consoles for Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, the Marvel what if of Resident Evil, with Spec Ops team and all that on the front.
Yeah, Black Widow's on the cover too. There, look.
Yeah, James, what do you think of the Orc cover?
This is like it looks like it's a screenshot from a trailer. And I'm not sure I like it. Like, I love the font. Again, I'm gonna keep talking about that.
Yeah,
like, and
the logo's great.
The logo's super cool. They went super sci-fi. With like the face masks and everything, and the guy. It's cool that the guy's using the zombies. Like, I think I know what my problem is. I think there's too many colors happening here. Like, there's too
right.
Like,
yeah.
And it just makes it look like a movie scene, not a cover. Right? And yeah, like, if you see this, like, it looks like a movie. It looks like a video, like a movie scene. Like, it doesn't. Yeah. Like, it doesn't look a game. And that wouldn't invite me to play it. I think that, yeah, because of that. I'll wait to hear what your opinions are before I think about ranking it.
That's fair. Kelsey, where do you square up with this one? It's a bit too cartoony for me.
Yeah. It's and the movie stuff James was saying is spot on. That's what it is. It feels way too movie-like, and a movie, not necessarily a bad movie. It just doesn't. I don't know why this is not working for me. This, like, the characters at the front are just completely separate from the ones at the back. There's just some weirdness going on. It's composition's not great. I love, obviously, the tyrant character, but it doesn't show him off in the best way.
Yeah, he's playing the secondary role right at the back there, isn't he? You know.
And not in a nice kind of stalkery way, just in sort of a missed opportunity way.
He's like, "Hey guys, wait for me," kind of way, you know.
Just not a great deal of thought. Way too actiony for me. I'm putting this. This is above Resident Evil. No, is it?
What's your?
It's either okay. Side. Let's see what you got to say. For me, I think it's
all on you,
C. It's either a low C or a D, but I don't think it's a D. It's up to you.
I mean, it is more interesting than the remake cover art. That's very clear, but
cartoony, like you said.
Yeah, it's cartoony. James is right. It's a bit too much color, and just doesn't. It's almost. Do you know what? Kind of like Umbrella Chronicles, but turned up. It's almost too much to look at. There's just you don't know what you're looking at. Your eyes want to bounce all over the place. Like you said, the logo is definitely the shiniest part of it. I'm cool with the logo.
Yeah.
The rest I don't know. That's a tough one. I think maybe it's only slightly better than remake, but it's not as good as Umbrella Chronicles.
Yeah, I think that's where I'd rank it.
I think I was just thinking like Umbrella Chronicles, and I was like,
it's a similar situation, really, isn't it? Where there's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna sound. I think I like it more just because of the logo more than Umbrella Chronicles.
Okay. Yeah, do you know what? Actually, you got a fine point. I like that there's a bit more color to it. I mean, perhaps it's too much, but
because these two games, these two book covers, these two game covers, I don't care what's happening in these covers. That's the thing, right? I'm looking at them, I'm going, I don't care, right?
It's about those fonts.
It is all about those fonts that have Helvetica 28.
Yeah.
Right.
If that's the case, then Operation Raccoon City is better than Umbrella Chronicles because its logo's a lot better.
It is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go then. Let's drag that up a little bit further. Is it as good as Mercenaries 3D?
No, because it's just too messy. And it's just like, let's have flames in the background.
It's Michael Bay, the game cover.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Michael Bay, the game cover, to Michael Bay, the game. Our next one is Resident Evil 6. Let's get it right out the way now. Kelsey, when you look at this, can you see anything other than giraffe fellatio?
No. And before that,
James is about to experience. Can you not see that?
Before that was even a thing, and I know it was a thing really quickly, I already didn't like the logo and the cover. It's just a joke now, isn't it? It's you can't. No, there's nothing to it. The gradient's rubbish at the back, and like the logo, as we said, is just a joke. And so it's like a spider web and cocoon spiderwebs. But
I get why cocoon, right?
Yeah,
the C virus is, very much about cocoons. I never understood spider webs being part of Resident Evil 6. There's no spidery enemies that jump out to my mind.
Yeah.
I like the choice of color in the sense that we've not had a purple cover. It's nice. It breaks it up from 4 and 5 and 6. They've all got their different identity. But you're right. It's not a very pretty color. And the logos, regardless of the fact that it's a meme, it's still pretty rubbish.
The words are all almost lost on the cover.
Yeah,
I know
too
you
thin.
can read it; they're there, but they are lost, and there's more could have been done there. Yeah, just lifeless for me. This is obviously very similar. If you think about RE5 is loads better than this. It's the same sort of vein, but just with new kind of scheme and theme. It's just and it's not because not the game aside, just the cover. What's there to it? There's really nothing to it. It is what it is. It is what we all think it is. Not a big fan. I would rank this. Just put it in D. I think it's a missed opportunity. Like, it's just. It's like they did 5 and it's okay, you did the big number and stuff on the cover, and then they did this and it's just a step back from 5. It's almost like it's unfinished. I think this one was a mistake.
Interesting. Moist, how do you feel about 6?
I do like the colors. But yeah, I during our Minus Thieves playthrough, I talk about like my immense disappointment that there were no spiders in this game, considering the box art. Like, and yeah, it's the same. Like, it's uninspiring. There's like, there's no. It doesn't draw anything from me when I look at it. You know, I went into RE6 with a lot of optimism, as I usually do. Yeah. And I was just disappointed. But the box art is also just disappointing. Like, especially after, I know we're not meant to compare them, but especially after playing the game as well. Because there were promises that were half made on the cover that weren't there. Yeah, and I agree with Kelsey as well. Like, the name is like lost. This isn't a Resident Evil cover, right? Like, there isn't.
It reminds me of. Do you remember the original Spider-Man 2 film? And just the poster for that was just 2, and it's like, or with X-Men as well. And it's like that I understood. With this, you know, if you made that font any skinnier, I wouldn't know this is a Resident Evil game.
No. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, great. I don't think it's D, but I think it's low C.
That's fair. I would put it right at the bottom of C.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
I say happy. I mean, yeah, I agree. Who's happy about this cover?
Well, let's see if we're any happier about Revelations 2.
Oh boy,
the follow-on from Revelations 1 in theming with the cover art there of the eyeball, and there's some barbed wire. As to say, you know, this out of the 2, when I say, you know, things with eyes, this one makes me feel ickier. Definitely, the coloration, the eye. There's almost some emotion in that. There's some real fear in there. Kelsey, you're nodding your head. How high up does Revelations 2 go for you?
Now, the problem I have with this is it's so similar to Revelations 1. It's what you just said then about the emotion in the eye. I didn't even think about that, but you're completely right. You can see more of it. You can see more detail there. You can see more going on. But because I feel like I've seen this cover already, and it's just kind of, it's the sequel, I suppose. It's supposed to be similar, but I feel like I saw this really great cover. You could have advanced upon it, but you haven't advanced enough. So for me, stylistically, I really like it. I think it's great. I think the color scheme is great. I think it gives off a lot of Resident Evil vibes. But I just think it's kind of like been there, done that. And they could have done more. So it loses points, loses lots of points for unimaginativeness.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
So I'm happy to rank it high-ish, but I think I can't rank it above. It can't be above Revelations because of those reasons that I just said. So yeah, it's maybe it's a low A. It's the lowest A. Well,
the reason I wanted to do these in release order, and hopefully we've done it correctly, is for that context, really, to see, you know, what it followed on from. James, you said something about wait until we get to Revelations 2. What do you think of this?
I love this cover. I love it. It screams Resident Evil to me. Like out of out of that cover, like it screams Resident Evil. Out of all of these like covers, this is the most Resident Evil. Like, because there's that eye. He's just staring at you, and it's like saying help, you know, or pain, you know, and suffering, you know. It's like, and also you got kind of the, you know, throughout that game, I haven't played one yet, but throughout the game you get you are in prisons, you are around kind of like a places full of cast iron and fences and like barbed wire and stuff, and like that kind of tells the story of the game there, as like in the gross skin and the discoloration and the stark contrast of the bright green and hazel eye next to like with the white and the red and the grossness, like, is just awesome. I love it. I do understand what you're saying, Kelsey, with the kind of, but my argument for that is consistency. Like, and we did bring it up earlier on, a consistency, or rather I did, between Resident Evil 1 and the Resident Evil remake cover, where there is no consistency between those two, so it wasn't inviting people back to the game. Whereas Resident Evil Revelations and Resident Evil Revelations 2 are very similar, and it does invite them. It's like, oh, I recognize that cover. Oh, it's Revelations 2. You know, it's like it brings people in. You know, and the like I enjoy, you know, I really enjoy Revelations. You know, I might as well play Revelations 2. Yeah, and I really like it, and the oh man, the title is awesome as well. It looks very simple, but a lot of work has gone into it as well. I think this is low S for me.
I actually, so piggyback on what you were saying again, was, you know, I mentioned how the Japanese version of Resident Evil 2 is the same as what we've got. It's almost like a follow-on from the original with just the eye, and now it's the full face. That's similar how I feel about this. As you say, it's like the sequel, so we're going to do something similar, but switch it up and make it more relevant to this game. Even in a vacuum, I think this is a better cover out of the two, but I think it's okay to cover up. I'm completely in agreement. I would put this at the bottom of S, which actually surprises myself because I didn't think about it beforehand. I didn't try not to think too much about this before we recorded it. This would be low S. So now the argument comes is, Kelsey, are you okay with bottom of the bottom of the S, or is that too much?
No, I think in a vacuum, it is a better cover. The retread stuff I can put aside. It's just personal gripe. I think maybe could this not have been 2 eyes, maybe, but you know, it's fine. Like I get that. Yeah. I even prefer the color scheme. I do. I was just holding it against it for slight lack of imagination in terms of like development of the image, but it is really good. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I'm happy for it to take the
just to maybe persuade you even more. Like, in a way, it's an open eye now, whereas in Revelations, like, you had the closed eye behind something trapped. In this one, the eye is open. It's there. It's still trapped, but it's open to you now.
Yeah.
No, you can poke it now.
You are you are completely right, and it is kind of this is sequel better than the original. I'm judging it too harshly, I think. It's really, really good, and I do love the games as well. Just to say,
I still need to play one. I've still not played it.
Happy with the low S. It's a great cover.
Speaking of a game that people may or may not want to play, onto a game that we'll probably never play again, Umbrella Corps, which when we recorded our podcast earlier this year, we said one of the best things about it was the artwork. I think, James, you said you said some praiseworthy things about the artwork. Where would you rank it, though, is the big question.
Compared to all the other stuff we've been talking about.
I don't even.
Oh man, this is gonna be so telling, because it's like the best thing about it is the artwork, but I want to put it in C. You know, I do like the composition of the orange and the white. Again, though, if I'm gonna call back to like Operation Raccoon City, it's action movie-ish. Though they put in like a montage of zombies in the background there just to tell you that there are zombies in this game. But in terms of that, like, there's nothing else that screams Resident Evil at me.
No, I was going to say it doesn't feel like a Resident Evil game, and it doesn't even have Resident Evil on the cover. So.
Yeah, like other than the umbrella symbol, there is nothing else. Yeah. So I will put it. I will put it behind Mercenaries.
Okay.
And between Mercenaries and Operation Raccoon City.
Okay.
For me.
Kelsey, how do you feel about the Umbrella core artwork?
I'm surprised you included it because it doesn't say Resident Evil on the cover. It's a weird one. This is like it's this is a controversial inclusion, but it's fine. It's down there with Orc and Umbrella Chronicles. It's not the worst image I've ever seen.
No,
but there's stuff. Yeah. It's stuff. It's not the style that I like. It doesn't kind of evoke the themes and atmosphere that I like. But as an image itself, the poses are nice on the characters. You can't complain. It doesn't look like they don't look kind of strange. They're fit for purpose, if you like. And the zombie image, there's worse. I think, what was the other cover? Thinking about Umbrella Chronicles with the black and white zombies, I definitely prefer them to these zombies. So this is behind Umbrella Chronicles for me.
Do you know, it's difficult because I agree. It doesn't say anything about it being a Resident Evil game when you look at it. Like, even if you took the logos off of all of them, it doesn't scream Resident Evil. But then, to be fair, neither does the gameplay particularly. It does evoke the gameplay a little bit, military shooter. So it's a fair representation in that point.
Yeah.
But it's still a pretty blah cover for the period that it was released in. You guys are definitely in the right area, certainly. I think I like it more than Umbrella Chronicles. I think I like it more than Operation Raccoon City, to be honest, but I don't think I'd go any higher than that.
I'm just thinking about James's sort of logo and font scale again. And now I think about that, the typeface on here is better than Umbrella Chronicles. So...
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. Do you know what?
But it's not better than Operation Raccoon City.
That's correct. Yeah. So the logo wins the day.
Yeah.
Yet again.
Yeah.
Okay, we are getting to the current era of Resident Evil now with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I should think and hope there'll be a lot of praise for this one, or at least that's my prediction. I think if we're talking about logos, the logo for this, of course, is brilliant, and it gives you a very good indication of what the game's going to be. I do wonder if this cover was inspired by Resident Evil 4 a little bit, with the figure in the center there, heading off into a creepy scenario. Kelsey, how do you feel about the RE7 box art?
Yeah, big fan. The 7 in the logo just feels ingenious.
It's actually genuinely clever and not just like, oh, haha, yeah, well done. It's like, oh, you saw that for the first time and you went, I never would have even considered that.
Yeah, it's not like when they changed like an S to a 5 or an E to a 3.
Yes, exactly.
Works perfectly. So yeah, big fan of the logo. The image is great. It's very, very Evil Dead and very, very horror. Just atmosphere is all there. Creepy character right in the middle. Creepy, child character. That's always creepy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's this is high. This is up there. This is it an S? Maybe. What do you think? What about you?
James, what do you think? Would you put this in S?
Yes. Yeah.
It
goes like, again, talking about stories, this cover explains like a lot of the story in this game.
Yeah.
Just looking at it, but from an outside perspective, it doesn't spoil anything.
This is such as well, because when you boot up the game, you get out the car, you walk forward. This house Obviously, there's a gate in front of it. This is exactly what you see as soon as within the first minute of playing the game, which I really love.
It's terrifying. And like shadow people terrify me anyway. And, shadow people children terrify me even more. Right. So yeah, it goes between, for me, it goes between Resident Evil 2 and 4 Resident Evil fans by Resident Evil fans.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're in agreement that it's right up the top. Kelsey, in terms of the games that are ranked to S, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like with the D, same with the D. I don't want to just jump to the D or jump to the S. You know, you've got to wait and hear a few things, but you're completely right. It's all there. This is the cover. The covers we love, the covers that I love. I love Resident Evil 2 original cover. It's very dear to me. But this is, you know, it's very retro, the Resident Evil 2 cover. It's very, it doesn't have much else apart from that single image. This tells story, as James said. It's once you finish the game, you look at the cover and you go, wow, there's the story of the game on the front cover.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's up. It's not above 4. It's 4 still the best one for me at the moment. So yeah, between 2 and 4.
I think I have to agree with that. Yeah. As difficult as it is, in a way, you're right. It's a better cover than Resident Evil 2. Speaking of Resident Evil 2, let's talk about the remake. This is again sort of a new start for the series here with this red and white logo, which I think has definitely gone on to be a big part of the series. James, what do you think of the RE2 remake cover?
So I'm going to say criticisms first before I say any kind of we've spoken about action movie stuff, and like the blue and orange meme of action movie posters is very, very prevalent.
Yeah.
Right, and they've used it here again, and we'll see it later on as well. But I think that's my only criticism, because this cover looks great. Like just down to the models as well. Like they haven't used in-game models a la Code Veronica. This is, if you were to look at Code Veronica and all the criticisms we had of Code Veronica, and then you look at this, right? This has done everything right that Code Veronica did wrong. Like in terms of the cover. I know it's a weird comparison, but like it looked like you got the terrible menace in the background of the zombies. You got the RPD and Raccoon City there as well. You've got the fear and you know, the fear of on their faces of Leon and Claire here, which are also individually they're not in-game models. They've been drawn.
Yeah.
And then there's the title itself, so recognizable now. Like that's something that like we need to applaud. Like because it's, as soon as you see that title, like in any of these games that we're going to talk about, like from this moment onwards, like it's so recognizable to the series. And I love this this cover. Yeah. It's I'll give you a range. It's between this is going to be quite a wide range. It's between mid A to low S for me.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I generally agree. It's a really good cover. As you said, the logo is sort of iconic in its own way now. When we make video editorials, we do the red and the white, you know, because people see it and they know it's Resident Evil. It's identifiable already.
Yeah.
You're right about the color scheme. It's pretty overdone, I guess, but it does incorporate everything. Here are the classic characters that you know and love. There's some zombies surrounding them. Cityscape. We're back in Raccoon City. I agree. This is a high A for me. Kelsey, where would you put this one?
Yeah, this is like Renaissance painting stuff. Like I know it's not that high level, but it's just the kind of, it's weird because it almost borderlines cheesy, but then it's not. The more you look at it, the more you see how good it is. Everything is really well considered. Color scheme's great. The posing, like you said, it shows the Code Veronica cover how to do it. They're not just stood there looking gormless and just pasted on. They've got the poses. The poses are perfect. Leon and Claire back to back. against the horde of zombies, our menacing RPD in the background that actually almost looks like it's got pupils in the windows as well, and just with the lights. The logo, as you said, for all the reasons you've said, raccoon city skyline at the bottom. Yeah, it runs the risk of being a bit cheesy and overpacked, but it's not. It just really works. It works really well. It is like a painting. Really big fan. It's an A. I don't think it's an S, because I think as good as this is, I prefer subtlety. This is not as subtle as I think it could have been. Is my only real criticism of it.
Okay.
But I don't even really like saying that, because it is really good. And
I agree.
Yeah,
it's hard to find too many flaws with it, but it's definitely not right at the top. Question, I suppose, is where on A do we put this? Is it better than Revelations? Is it not quite as good as Revelations, but better than Nemesis?
See, that was my problem, because I really like Revelations.
That would be my choice if I had to, is put it in between Revelations and Nemesis.
Yeah, I think that's a valid choice.
Okay, excellent.
I know we're really far along into it, but I just want to say that I still think Gaiden is a better one than Nemesis. I keep seeing it getting pushed further and further back. But yeah, I agree with that placement as well.
All right, well, let's follow it up with quite a similar one with the Resident Evil 3 remake. Again, sort of in the way that Revelations, following a theme. It's a little bit darker. The title's not quite as centered. But Jill, Carlos, and the Nemesis gracing this one. Kelsey, how do you feel about Remake 3's cover?
It is good, but there's, as before I've sort of said, there's a bit too much reuse. It feels... Again, I think they could have just done something else with this. It feels a bit lazy. RE2 one is so good, and it carries on the theme, carries on the style, but there's something about the texture of this one. I'm just flicking between them. This one feels a bit colder. It feels a bit... Maybe it's the fact there's no rain or something. It's just...
it's genuinely a darker cover. I mean, that doesn't help. They've taken some of the colour out of it, certainly, which I can, stylistically understand.
It's it's sort of reminiscent of the original one. Big presence of Nemesis. I do like the characters on the front cover. Nemesis looks a bit too godlike. Not a big fan of the composition of this one. The Resident Evil 2, that composition feels great. This one feels not as good. I'm trying to pin it down, struggling. I like it. It just doesn't... For some reason, it's just not sort of emotionally hitting me as hard as RE2 does. And
it's funny, really, because we're talking about the Revelations games. It's a difference between taking something and being like, okay, how can we evolve this? This might be a bit extreme, but this feels a little bit cynical in the sense that, Resident Evil 2 remake did really well. Resident Evil 3 will give it a similar cover. People will spot it and be like, okay, the other remake was so good, I'll pick this up. Yeah. Maybe that's just me. I do like it. I mean, it's good. I would say it's possibly an A, at the very least a high B. It's a good cover. It's just hard to nail down exactly why it isn't as good as the other. James, any thoughts on why that might be?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's because Nemesis takes up too much.
Okay.
Because he takes up literally half the cover. And it's cold. Resident Evil 2, it's got a lot of blue in it, but it doesn't feel cold. It feels warm, but also fear. There's a lot of fear in there. The way the atmosphere is being used. Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's the atmosphere around Leon and Claire. You see that atmosphere there. Whereas, with Resident Evil 3, for starters, the skyline is below them, and then immediately above them is Nemesis. He's looking down them like some creepy uncle, right? And it's, and I think that it's just colder, and it doesn't instill. I know it's not meant to really be. I mean, there is scary bits, but it's not meant to be as much as a fear factor as RE2. But yeah, it's I suppose that's what they were kind of going for, because it's somewhere in between, but it still is cold and doesn't have as much pow factor as or fear factor as Resident Evil 2 does. So yeah, I agree. I would say it's I don't think it's in B. I think low A.
Okay.
For me. Yeah, I still like it. I mean, we all like the A's and the S's. I mean, there's some things,
of course, yeah.
But
the more I'm looking at this, the more I dislike it, to be honest. As each second passes, I'm like,
okay,
it's like a rush job cover. And it's weird to say because of how similar it is to RE2. You think, well, it can't be that bad because it's basically the same cover. Well, it's not. That atmosphere is missing, like James said. And I wouldn't want to put this in A. I think it's losing life the more I look at it.
It's better than Outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it goes at the top of B for me.
Okay.
Why is it better than Outbreak? Tell me.
It's just, I mean, it is more, I guess it's more interesting. I suppose it tells you perhaps less about the game, actually, but I just find it more interesting. I do like when things follow along, even if what I said about it necessarily being a cynical way. I do like the continuation, even if it's lost something along the way. But it's just more visually appealing to me than Outbreak, perhaps.
I mean, to in its defense, in terms of having because I'm looking at it more and more, and there are some things I like and dislike, but it does tell you that it is an action game, because you see Carlos there with his with his machine gun, and Jill looks like she's ready to kick butt. And Carlos has got his full battle gear on and everything, and so I and it is, in terms of composition, of the entire thing, it's better than Outbreak. It's better than Gun Survivor 2. We stopped that meme. But it's not. And it's weird to say, but it's not better than Gaiden.
It's definitely not better than Gaiden.
No, it's not.
It's either the highest B or the... I wouldn't put it in A, but I'm happy to be outvoted. It's the highest B, then, I would say.
I would agree with that. I don't think I could put it in A.
Yeah. Yeah, now...
The highest B.
Cool.
Ooh. James, you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah, like Kelsey. The more I was looking at it, I was like, no, it just.
I can't believe that the Survivor 2 cover is in the middle of everything, right in the middle, staring at me.
It's the benchmark.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Right, so let's move on to. We're getting close to the end now. Remake 3's multiplayer portion. We will include this. Resident Evil Resistance, again, follows the theme of sort of the logo in the center. This definitely follows Remake 3 more than anything. You've got the characters at the bottom and a mastermind at the top. For me, actually, to start off, it's better than Remake 3. It's got a bit more of that atmosphere that we were talking about with RE2. It's just a bit more color to it. It gives you an indication of what this different kind of gameplay this game is going to offer, with the team at the bottom there all looking ready to go, and this mysterious scowling face who isn't for Bron, is it? So it's just sort of, mysterious scowling face. Guy, yes. Mastermind Guy. It's good. It's better than Remake 3, but I don't think I'd put it any higher than Gaiden. James, you were nodding, better than Remake 3. How high would you go, though?
They've put lasers in it, guys.
They have,
and they put a lot of TVs. The thing is, it's weird, right? Because these games came out at the same time. Remake 3 came at the same time this game is, right? But the composition of this cover is way better than Remake 3's is. It's scented way better. Everything, it just looks better. There's even atmosphere here.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so high B for me, like highest B right now.
Highest B.
Yeah.
Kelsey, any advances on highest B for Resistance?
Yeah, if we were to go back in time a little bit, I would shove RE3 down even more. As I said, I'm not even sure it's better than Outbreak, but here we are, and that because this is better. This is so much better. This is got the same theme, the way it's split up, and with something in the top and something in the bottom. But this is the better way to do it. As far as of all the busy covers we've got today, this is one of the best ones.
That's true.
It does the job. I didn't play a lot of Resistance, but I know what it's about, and I think what they've done with the cover symbolizes the game really well. I don't think there's any trickery. I think the atmosphere is there. The lasers are a bit silly, sure, but the game is a little bit silly. But the game is a lot of fun. There is a zombie. Yeah, I was just trying to see if there were zombies on there, but there are. There's like one on the monitor, and then there's a couple in the background there. Very busy, but it's very well managed. This cover. This is better than RE3. This is, but not better than Gaiden. And yeah, better than Gun Survivor, better than all the ones below it. Yeah.
All right. So I don't think we can put this in A, but top of B seems fair.
Top of B. This is a nice cover.
Well, guys, we need to put something at the end of B.
It's off censored now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's see what we think of this one. Will this land in the B or not? I know there's some words to be said about Resident Evil Village's cover art. Chris Redfield and the werewolf, or is it the same thing? Is Chris a werewolf? James, is Chris a werewolf? How do you feel about this?
Do not like this cover.
I know you don't.
I do not like this cover. Yeah, this cover is okay. I'll say the good things first, right? So this cover looks great, like in terms of the composition and the transition. Like, it looks great. The colors used are super cool. I really like neutral colors. And then the like poppy bright colors, particularly pastel colors, I really enjoy. And this cover has it. But that's where it ends, because like this cover doesn't tell a story, it lies.
Right, out of the sort of 3 or whatever ones we talked about where it's like, it's a little bit misleading. This is the big one, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm going to get a bit ranty here, right? But if they didn't say anything and this was just it, like, and they didn't try to make it out like he was going to be a werewolf, right? Then it would have been fine. But they did, and then they carried on with that, and they stuck with it, and then they released the cover, and it's like, okay, well, now it's way too obvious and also maybe a spoiler. But if you don't include it, then it's a bit silly, right? So this cover is a bit silly for me. Really like the font of Village. Again, really clever. I like that they've made it like the forefront rather than Resident Evil, because Resident Evil Village is all about the village, and they were right when they said that. That was good marketing. And I love that. But man, that actually, if I look, you actually see the village and the castle there. Oh, I never realized
Yes,
that.
you can actually, yeah.
Okay, I kind of like that, actually, but that gives it some points. But it's not like a D or a C for me. Like, it's not that bad. It's just that I felt like I was treated a bit like an idiot, like when I was looking at it, and with the marketing of it. So for me, it's. I'll hear your opinions first.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to place, definitely. KDB, how do you feel about starting off with a logo? How do you think Village should be the big word? Be bigger than Resident Evil?
So I have grown to accept and love that. I didn't to begin with. On this cover, it looks really good. I think when it's sort of talked about as Village, it doesn't really work. But on the cover, it's fine. It says Resident Evil right there. It's fine. Love the logo. Like James said, technically put together, the image is fantastic. It's very well put together. It's seamless. It's great work, stunning. But it's pointless. It's just a pointless image. It's not the story of the game. It lies to you. The landscape at the bottom is really nice. There is some atmosphere to it. So yeah, it's not a D. It's not a C.
Yeah.
For me, because of the tricks it plays, this is probably the lowest B for me.
That's what I was eyeing up as well, because it's not just necessarily the Chris Redfield is or isn't a werewolf thing, but the werewolves don't even look like that. The one on the box doesn't look like the lichens or even the
Varkolax don't.
Right, they don't look like that either. So
great point.
It's a bit odd. It looks as a box art, as you guys have both said, it's really good. It's well put together. It's got a lot of stuff to look at and study. It's I like a box art that you can spend time just sort of sinking yourself into. It's definitely that. But
the other, so there's 2 other box arts for this that at least that I've seen, and they're both a million times better than this. And it's just a shame that we got this. Yeah.
I'm happy to go bottom of B. James, would you agree with that?
Yeah. I can support that.
Fantastic. All right, and finally, Resident Evil RE-verse.
Sorry, what? What game?
Yeah, because that. So this image was first revealed as the Resident Evil 25th anniversary image, and then later revealed as cover, if you like, for RE-verse. We are going to talk about it anyway. We talked about busy covers. I would say this is one of the worser ones. Kelsey, how do you feel about the RE-verse cover?
Yeah, it's like, I don't hate it. There's parts about it, there's a lot about it I don't like, but it's very so what they've done with this is, obviously the anniversary, celebrating all that, that's very clear. It's very much like a lot of movie posters that have come out in recent years, particularly Marvel, where they throw everyone on the cover. 100% that was a reference point for this. I'd be stunned to hear if it wasn't. But then the choices are odd. Like there's like Leon right in front of Jack, and then Ada just tucked away over there.
It's bizarre, isn't it? The Tyrant is on the right hand side, and it barely looks like Tyrant. It looks like it looks like House, or however you say it, from RE6.
It does.
Chaos.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's a super Tyrant. Yeah, it's a weird mishmash.
Yeah, it's a misfire. But it could have been the opposite. There was a lot of potential if they could have done something really epic that worked, but it's a misfire. And but again, technically, it's not too bad.
Yeah,
it's not a botched Photoshop job. Nobody's looking like their arm is in the wrong place and stuff like that. But it's just chaos. It's everything. It's all crammed into one. I don't rank it high. Can't wait for the game to come out and finally try that one day, if that ever happens. But,
way to date this recording, Kelsey.
Yeah.
In that case, since you're struggling for a very specific placement, James, what do you think of this cover art before we find where to place it?
It's too busy. And like they've got like RE7 Chris in here as well.
Sure. Yeah, bizarre, isn't it?
Like after Village released, this was supposed to be released with Village, and then you include RE7 Chris.
Yeah, even that's strange. Let alone the fact that it's coming out afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's the game's not really meant to be telling a story. It's meant to be saying this is a multiplayer game. But there are better ways to put across that a game is a multiplayer game than just putting everything on it.
Look at Resistance.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's so much, and I don't as a poster on my wall. Cool. I would love to have it on a wall, but I mean, even the name is lost with all the people on this. In terms of a grade. Wow.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, I'm just sort of looking at it. My eyes keep getting drawn to Umbrella Corps, which is a similar sort of modern, try and look modern cover. I would say this is worse than that. I would take Umbrella Corps over this, but how far down beyond that, I'm not sure.
I mean, I prefer it over Umbrella Corps, but you're right. It's so down there.
I'm like looking at the covers now, and I'm like, It's okay. Let's go down the list of C's. It's not better than File 2. It's not better than Resident Evil 0. It's not better than Dead Aim. It's not better than Mercs. And then it gets a little bit muddy.
Yeah.
Because like Operation Raccoon City.
At least I'll say this much. I like the coloration and stuff of this better than Raccoon City, which is all orange here and then blue around the outside.
Yeah. No,
You know, this is nicer that way.
It's hard.
It's because it's got it's like, oh, look at all our favorite characters that we love. They're all there. You don't want to be so harsh to them. But then it's just
I don't know about that. Code Veronica, one of my favorite games, is at the bottom, and we got Survivor 2 in the middle. So
yeah.
Woo,
right in the middle.
2. Let's go. I tell you what. For me, it's between Umbrella Corps and Umbrella Chronicles.
Okay, Kelsey, where would you put it in C then? Let's see if we can unanimously come to something.
Between Orc and Umbrella Corps.
Okay.
Because, so, like, I like that logo on Umbrella Corps. And then there's not much else. Like I say, the poses on there are fit for purpose. But because I look at this and I'm like, there's Jill,
iconic
there's Nemesis,
characters.
there's Claire, there's
you know
an explosion. It's sort of stupid, but kind of fun. But then it stops there. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's got Jack Baker on it. It's going to... No, I think you're right in that sense. Maybe it is better than Umbrella Corps because it's got recognizable characters rather than Umbrella Corps, which is just general military dudes. So I could be persuaded to go that way. James, would you be happy putting it between Orc and Umbrella Corps?
Fight for it if you want, James.
No, I think that's like, if I'm gonna kind of argue against kind of myself, like Umbrella Corps is way more plain than this is, right? But Orc has way more going on, but the title is way more interesting than this is. Like, yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah, between Orc and Corps.
Okay, between Orc and Corps. That's the last one. So let's quickly go from bottom to top. And make sure these placements are correct. So at the very bottom, is Code Veronica worse than Survivor? Just give me a yes or a no.
Yes.
No, maybe that's wrong.
I agree. I think Survivor's worse.
Yeah.
Is Code Veronica better than Darkside Chronicles?
No.
Okay. Is Darkside Chronicles better than RE6?
No.
Is RE6 better than Remake 1?
No.
Is Remake 1 better than Umbrella Chronicles?
No.
That's a question.
No.
It's in box
the
art.
thing is, in my head, I was immediately film came to my head. I was like, no, forget the film. It's about the box art.
Exactly. On box art alone. On box art alone, Umbrella Chronicles, is it better than Umbrella Corps?
I think it is, but that logo so lets it down.
It really does, doesn't it?
It's like a really piss poor logo slapped on top. Ruins it.
Yeah, it's not better.
No.
Okay, Umbrella Corps, is it better than RE-verse? I think we've already decided that's no. RE-verse better than Orc? No, that's fine. Orc, is it better than Mercs 3D?
This one, I think maybe we were too kind to Mercs 3D.
Okay.
I think looking at Orc and what it does, it has more pluses than Mercs 3D, because talking about all the stuff, all that negative space and the things that it was missing, the really rubbish title, the high contrast image was nice, but at least Orc
It's all about that logo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the logo is a million times better than Mercenaries 3D, and the Mercenaries image, like you said, it's just reusing Chris and the RE5 stuff. It's so much, as silly as Orc is, Mercs for me looking back is way more unimaginative than Orc is. If I was going to move one, that would be one, I think. But
James, do you agree with that, or do you think the placement was correct?
Happy to stick. I just thought I'd
I can agree with that. Yeah, the title alone, to be honest, would put it above.
It's really strong. It is strong.
That's a unanimous. I agree with that. In that case, Orc better than Dead Aim?
No.
Okay. Dead Aim better than Zero?
No, not for me.
No. Okay. Zero better than Outbreak File 2?
No.
File 2 better than Village? No, I don't think so. Ooh.
Actually.
Okay.
Actually. Yeah, get Village back into C and put.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Big change.
We're being really kind to Village because obviously the game is incredible. Technically the cover is fine, but there is, in terms of coolness and thinking back now to what is on the cover of File 2, that's just way more enjoyable than the Village cover.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I
That's a
agree
big
with that.
change. So
And
is it
the werewolf thing? Again, I didn't even realize that until you said it's not even a werewolf from the game. It's just which makes me
it's
dislike
just a
it even
werewolf.
more.
It's just a werewolf.
Yeah.
In that case, File 2, is that still a C or is it getting bumped up?
I think we should
bump it up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's bump it up.
Wow.
It's got something. It's got more than Village, definitely.
Interesting. File 2, is it better than Resident Evil 5?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Resident Evil 5, is it better than Resident Evil 1?
No.
Resident Evil 1, is it better than Survivor 2?
Nope.
Survivor 2, is it better than Outbreak?
No.
Nope.
That's correct. Outbreak, is it better than Remake 3? Outbreak better than RE3 Remake?
Yes.
No.
No, I have to stick
fine.
with it. Yeah,
That's fine.
RE3 better than Resistance? I think that's a unanimous no, isn't it?
Yeah.
Resistance better than Gaiden?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay.
I was ready to throw Gaiden above RE3, and you want to drop it down.
Well, James, I think you're on your own there, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that's fair.
Is Gaiden better than RE3 then?
Yes.
Kelsey's already said it. James, what do you think?
No, not for me. Because
This is a really hard one.
Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was such a huge, that cover was so huge. It just has such a nostalgic kind of block in my head.
I get that. Do you know, I think there's a funny caveat to this. I think that RE3 stands out more to me, but perhaps that's just because Gaiden is a smaller game that you don't see as often. Maybe but that's the way it's going to be. I think RE3 is better. Sorry, Kelsey.
No, that's fine.
Is RE3 better than Remake 2?
Definitely not.
No. Is Remake 2 better than Revelations 1?
No.
Is Revelations 1 better than Revelations 2?
Guess not.
No.
Is Revelations 2 better than Resident Evil 2?
No.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is Resident Evil 2 better than Resident Evil 7?
No.
And is Resident Evil 7 better than Resident Evil 4?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Didn't think so. And there you have it.
Wow.
There is our ranking of Resident Evil box art from D, Resident Evil Survivor, all the way to S. For Resident Evil fans by Resident Evil fans. Thank you for joining me, both of you guys. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Hopefully everyone watching enjoyed this as well. Sound off in the comments about how wrong we are. Be civil. We can take it, but be civil with each other, of course. Thanks for watching this. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. We're always making new content, Resident Evil and gaming in general, but a lot of Resident Evil stuff as well. And expect more tier death experience very soon. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for watching, and have a good week.